In the world of coin collecting, few pieces from modern American history have captivated collectors and treasure hunters quite like the 1979 D Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin. What many people don't realize is that a coin sitting quietly in your change jar, your old drawer, or a forgotten box of coins might actually be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Yes, the 1979 D Washington $quarter, which once held a face value of just 25 cents, now carries a staggering potential market value of up to $49,857, depending on its condition, rarity, and specific characteristics. Today, we are going to dive deep into the fascinating story of this coin, its design, history, the reason behind its incredible value, and what collectors are looking for right now that could make you rich if you happen to find one. To understand why the 1979 D Washington $quarter has become such a hot topic among numismatists, we first need to go back to its origin and learn how this coin came to be. The Washington $quarter series began in 1932, designed by sculptor John Flanagan to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design featured the profile of Washington on the obverse side, facing left, with the word Liberty above and the motto "I in God We Trust" beside his portrait. The reverse side depicted a heraldic eagle with wings spread, clutching arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing both strength and peace. Now, by 1979, the United States Mint was producing billions of coins annually, and the Denver Mint was one of the main facilities responsible for striking quarters. These coins bear the letter D just beside Washington's ponytail, indicating that they were struck in Denver, Colorado. While that year's quarters were mass-produced, certain rare varieties and high-grade examples have turned this common coin into a collector's dream. Let's talk about the coin's composition. The 1979 D Washington $quarter was made primarily from copper and nickel. Its outer layers consisted of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. Each coin weighs about 5.67 grams and measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter. Though not made from silver like earlier quarters before 1965, certain minting errors and pristine conditions have made some of these copper-nickel quarters incredibly valuable. Now, why would a 1979 D $quarter, a coin millions of people use daily, suddenly be worth $49,857? The answer lies in a combination of factors: condition, rarity, errors, and collector demand. Let's explore each of these factors in detail so you can understand what makes this coin so special and potentially so valuable. First, let's talk about condition. In the coin collecting world, condition is everything. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1 to 70. A coin graded as MS-70 is considered a perfect specimen, showing no wear, scratches, or handling marks even under magnification. The vast majority of 1979 D $quarters in circulation show heavy wear and tear since they were used for decades in everyday transactions. However, a few coins were preserved in pristine mint state condition, kept safely away from circulation in collector sets or rolls. These coins, graded between MS-67 and MS-70, have sold for astonishing prices at auctions. A 1979 D $quarter graded MS-68 by the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) once fetched nearly $50,000 due to its flawless surfaces, sharp strike, and vibrant original luster. Even coins graded slightly lower, like MS-67, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars today. That means that if you happen to find a 1979 D $quarter in superb, uncirculated condition, you might be sitting on a small fortune. Next, we need to talk about errors, and this is where the story gets even more exciting. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the striking process at the mint. Some of the most valuable 1979 D $quarters are those with unique and dramatic minting mistakes. Examples include double die obverse, where the design elements like the date or lettering appear doubled due to a misalignment during striking. There are also off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin was not properly centered during minting. Other errors that make the 1979 D $quarter highly sought after include clipped planchets, where a small portion of the metal blank was cut off before striking, and broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its normal rim shape due to the absence of the collar die. These types of errors can dramatically increase the coin's value because they are unique. No two error coins are exactly the same. Collectors love these anomalies because they tell a story of how the minting process can go wrong in fascinating ways. Let's also not forget about the historical significance of the 1979 quarter. The late 1970s was an era of great economic change in America. Inflation was high, the dollar was struggling, and the U.S. Mint was producing massive quantities of coins to meet demand. Despite this mass production, the quality control at the Denver Mint during certain batches led to variations that numismatists now identify as distinct varieties. This historical context gives the 1979 quarter added depth and appeal among collectors who appreciate not only its beauty but also its story. The design of the Washington Quarter remained unchanged from its 1932 debut until 1998, when it was replaced by the 50-state quarters program. This means that the 1979 is part of the classic Washington Quarter series that so many collectors cherish. Its simple elegance, combined with the history behind it, makes it a perfect representation of American coinage during that period. Now let's dive deeper into how you can identify if your 1979 quarter might be worth a fortune. The first thing you should do is examine the mint mark. It should appear as a small D on the right side of Washington's ponytail. Make sure it is clear and well struck. Weakly struck mint marks or odd-looking Ds could indicate a variety that might interest specialists. Next, inspect the coin's surfaces under good lighting. A genuine mint state coin should have a bright, satiny luster with minimal marks. Look for full details in Washington's hair, the feathers on the eagle's wings, and the crispness of the lettering around the coin's rim. Any soft or flat areas could mean the coin was struck from worn dies, which lowers its value. However, sharp detail and clean surfaces mean the coin could be a high-grade piece. If you notice anything unusual about your coin, such as double numbers, off-center images, or strange edge shapes, it's worth getting it evaluated by a professional grading service. The top grading companies, such as PCGS and NGC, authenticate and assign grades to coins. Once graded, your coin receives a certification number and is sealed in a tamper-proof holder, which can dramatically increase its resale value. You might be wondering how a collector determines the actual price of a coin like the 1979 quarter. Prices vary depending on demand, rarity, and condition. Auction records, online marketplaces, and coin shows provide a good sense of what buyers are currently willing to pay. In recent years, prices for high-grade 1979 quarters have skyrocketed as more collectors compete to complete their Washington Quarter sets. For example, while a well-worn 1979 quarter might still only be worth its face value of 25 cents, a coin in MS-65 condition could sell for $50 to $100. A coin in MS-67 condition could fetch $1,000 or more, and those in the top condition levels, MS-68 or higher, can reach prices like the current record of $49,857. Another interesting aspect is how coin toning can impact value. Over time, some coins develop beautiful natural toning, shades of blue, gold, and purple caused by chemical reactions on the metal surface. Collectors often prize attractively toned coins, especially when the toning enhances the coin's eye appeal. However, artificially toned coins, where someone tried to speed up the process using chemicals or heat, can lose value once detected by experts. It's also important to store your coins properly if you think you might have a valuable one. Keep your coins in a dry, cool place away from humidity and direct sunlight. Use non-PVC coin flips or holders to prevent chemical damage. Never clean your coins. Cleaning can scratch the surface and destroy their value instantly. Even the smallest scratch can mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth tens of thousands. Collectors are increasingly looking for coins like the 1979 quarter because they represent a connection to America's past, and because high-quality examples are becoming harder to find as time goes on. Every year, more coins are lost, damaged, or melted, making surviving mint-state examples even rarer. The story of the 1979 Washington Quarter is a reminder that hidden treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered. ChatGPT said, In today's video, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable modern-era coins that could be hiding in your pocket change right now. We're talking about the 1980 D Mint Mark Washington Quarter Dollar coin, a coin that's worth far more than its face value of just 25 cents. Some of these rare examples have sold for jaw-dropping prices, and one in top condition is currently valued at an incredible $73,730. That's right. A single quarter from 1980 could make you thousands of dollars richer if you know what to look for. So, if you've got any old coins lying around, it's time to grab your change jar and start looking closely, because you might be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it. Now, before we get into the reasons why this particular quarter is so valuable, let's take a moment to understand a little about its history. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the coin features a left-facing profile of George Washington on the obverse, or front side, with the word, Liberty, above his head and the famous American motto, In God We Trust, beside his profile. On the reverse, or back side, is an image of a bald eagle with outstretched wings, holding arrows and olive branches, symbolizing both strength and peace. By 1980, the Washington Quarter had already become a familiar sight in circulation, but that year's coins struck at the Denver Mint, the ones with the D Mint mark, have attracted special attention from collectors. The 1980 D Washington Quarter was struck in a composition of copper and nickel, not silver, since silver quarters had been phased out after 1964. However, even without any silver content, this coin has achieved extraordinary value because of a combination of rarity and condition, minting variations, and collector demand. In 1980, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarters, but only a very small percentage have survived in pristine condition. Most circulated heavily in commerce, losing their sharp details and developing scratches, nicks, and wear. Coins that remain in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, known as mint state or MS coins, are highly sought after by serious numismatists. And within that tiny group of high-grade survivors, a few coins exhibit unique minting errors or exceptional strike quality that push their value into the tens of thousands of dollars. One of the reasons collectors go crazy for these coins is because of the sharpness of detail and the luster on the surface. When a coin is struck perfectly with full detail and no visible marks, it can earn a grade as high as MS-67 or even MS-68 on the professional coin grading scale. That's an incredibly high standard, and very few coins from 1980 meet it. Those that do have fetched astonishing prices at auctions. The record-breaking sale of a 1980 D Washington Quarter graded MS-68 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS, reached over $73,000. Imagine finding that in your change or tucked away in a forgotten drawer. Let's talk about how to identify this coin. The 1980 D Washington Quarter has the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front, with the mint mark, D, located just to the right of Washington's ponytail, above the year 1980. The coin's edge is reeded, meaning it has small grooves all around the rim. The reverse shows the majestic eagle, and if you look closely, the quality of the strike, the shine, and any unusual features are what can make the difference between a 25-cent coin and a life-changing discovery. Now, one of the key things that collectors always look for in quarters from this era is minting errors. These are small or sometimes dramatic mistakes that occur during the minting process. Some 1980 D quarters have been found with off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned, giving the coin a strange or uneven appearance. Others have double die errors, meaning the design was struck twice slightly out of alignment, creating a noticeable doubling effect on letters or details. There are also examples with missing mint marks, die cracks, or planchet flaws, all of which can increase the value dramatically. Even minor errors can make a coin worth hundreds or thousands of dollars if the error is unusual enough and the coin remains in good condition. For example, a 1980 D quarter with a noticeable double die on the obverse could be worth several $1,000s even if it's circulated. But when you combine a rare error with a high-grade condition, that's when the values start to skyrocket into the tens of thousands. Let's also touch on why the market for these coins continues to grow. Collectors are increasingly looking for coins from the modern era that are difficult to find in perfect condition. Since most people didn't save quarters from the 1970s and 1980s, pristine examples are far scarcer than earlier coins that were deliberately collected. The demand for coins like the 1980 Washington Quarter has surged because they represent a new frontier for collectors who are realizing that even modern coins can be incredibly valuable. You might be wondering how you can tell if your 1980 Washington Quarter is valuable. The first step is to examine the coin under good lighting. Check the mint mark location, the date, and the overall condition. If your coin looks shiny, shows full details on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, and has minimal scratches or wear, it could be worth grading by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. The cost to grade a coin is often small compared to the potential reward if it turns out to be a high-grade specimen. Another important factor that adds value is the presence of a strong strike. A strong strike means that the design elements are crisp, with clear definition on both sides. Quarters with weaker strikes often show flat spots on Washington's face or the eagle's wings. But when a coin is perfectly struck, the fine details pop out, giving it a mirror-like appearance under light. Collectors pay premium prices for that. It's also worth noting that coins that have been kept in protective holders or rolls for decades often retain their original mint luster, which is that brilliant, frosty shine right out of the mint. If your 1980 quarter still looks like it was just minted, you could be holding something very special. Some collectors have even discovered valuable quarters by accident. Stories circulate of people finding rare high-grade 1980 quarters in old jars, inherited coin collections, or in circulation. Every year, more and more people are becoming aware of just how valuable these coins can be, driving even greater interest and competition in the marketplace. Now, let's break down the value scale a bit more specifically. A 1980 Washington Quarter in average circulated condition is generally worth around its face value, about 25 cents. However, if it's in lightly circulated or about uncirculated condition, you might be looking at a value between $1 and $5. Once you move up into mint state grades like MS-63, the coin can be worth anywhere from $20 to $50. In MS-65, the price can jump to several $100s. But when you get into the top grades, MS-67 and above, the numbers become staggering. Coins graded MS-67 can bring over $1,000. An MS-68 example, the finest known, is where the record-breaking values appear, up to that incredible $73,730. It's important to mention that coin values fluctuate over time depending on collector demand, auction results, and market trends. However, coins like this tend to maintain or increase their value because they are so rare in top condition. The combination of historical significance, minting quality, and scarcity makes them an enduring favorite among collectors. You may be surprised to learn that even small details like toning can affect the price. Some quarters from 1980 have developed attractive rainbow or golden toning over time due to chemical reactions with the air. Collectors often pay a premium for coins with beautiful natural toning that enhances their appearance without hiding the details. So what can you do if you think you might have a valuable 1980 Washington Quarter? Start by handling it carefully. Never clean your coins, as cleaning can destroy their natural luster and dramatically reduce their value. Store the coin in a soft plastic holder or a coin flip to protect it from scratches. If you think it might be uncirculated or have an error, consider having it appraised by a reputable dealer or sending it to a grading service. Once graded, the coin's condition is preserved and authenticated, which gives collectors and buyers confidence in its authenticity and quality. This makes it much easier to sell or trade, and it often increases its value because the coin now has a recognized certification number and grade. Collectors who specialize in Washington quarters often build complete sets, including coins from every year and mint. ChatGPT said, the 1980p mint mark Washington quarter dollar coin is one of those coins that might look ordinary at first glance, but in reality, it holds an incredible story of value, rarity, and history that continues to surprise collectors and coin enthusiasts across the world. In this video, we are going to explore everything about the 1980p Washington quarter dollar coin, from its origin and design to its composition, rare varieties, era coins, and of course, its unbelievable current market value that has reached as high as $64,734. If you have a 1980 quarter lying around in your home, this might just be the video that could change how you look at that little piece of metal forever. Let's go back to the beginning. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, this quarter featured a left-facing portrait of George Washington on the obverse, with the word, Liberty, above and the motto, In God We Trust, inscribed beside his neck. On the reverse side, the coin features the majestic bald eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing America's strength and peace. This design remained a staple for decades, representing American pride and history through generations. By the time the 1980 mint mark Washington quarter came along, the coin had already undergone several changes in composition and minting technology. Prior to 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving them intrinsic metal value. However, due to rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint switched to a clad composition beginning in 1965. The 1980 Washington quarter, therefore, was made of a copper-nickel composition with a pure copper core and outer layers of copper and nickel. Each coin weighs about 5.67 grams and measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter. The P mint mark on the 1980 quarter signifies that it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. This is particularly notable because 1980 was only the second year that the Philadelphia Mint included its P mark on circulating coins. Before 1979, coins from the Philadelphia Mint typically did not have a mint mark, making the presence of the P on the 1980 quarter an important marker in U.S. minting history. Now, when it comes to rarity and value, not every 1980 P quarter is worth thousands of dollars. Most examples you find in circulation today are only worth their face value of 25 cents, maybe slightly more if in uncirculated condition. However, certain examples with unique mint errors or extremely high grades have fetched extraordinary amounts at auctions, with top-graded coins reaching over $64,000. That's why collectors and treasure hunters are always keeping an eye out for rare versions of the 1980 P Washington quarter. One of the major reasons some of these coins are so valuable is because of their condition. Coins that have been well preserved without scratches, wear, or discoloration are known as mint state coins. These are graded on a scale from 1 to 70 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, commonly referred to as PCGS. A grade of MS-70 represents a perfect, flawless coin. Even a difference between MS-68 and MS-69 can mean thousands of dollars in value difference. For example, a 1980 P Washington quarter graded MS-68 has sold for tens of thousands of dollars because it is almost perfect in condition and incredibly rare to find in that grade. Another factor that can make the 1980 P quarter valuable is the presence of minting errors. During the coin production process, mistakes can happen, and these errors often create collectible varieties that are sought after by numismatists. Some of the most famous error types include off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, broad strikes, and wrong planchet errors. Each of these mistakes gives the coin a distinct appearance, making it one of a kind and increasing its value tremendously. For example, a double die obverse coin might show slight doubling in the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust. These doubling effects can make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands depending on how noticeable the error is. Similarly, off-center strikes, where the design is not properly centered on the coin, can also fetch impressive prices, especially when more than 50% of the design is missing. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1980 P Washington quarter is how some examples have been discovered with wrong planchet errors. This means the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a nickel or dime. These coins are extremely rare and command premium prices because they represent an error that should have never left the mint. Let's talk about the market side of things. Coin collecting has become more popular than ever before, and the demand for older, high-quality coins continues to rise. As more collectors search for top-graded 1980 P quarters, the the supply of pristine examples becomes smaller, pushing values upward. That's how we've seen examples sell for as much as $64,734 in auctions. Now you might be wondering, how do you know if your 1980p quarter is valuable? The first step is to carefully inspect the coin's surface for any signs of wear, discoloration, or damage. If your coin still has sharp details in Washington's hair, bold lettering, and a bright luster, it might be uncirculated. You should also look closely for any doubling in the text or misalignment in the design, as these are possible signs of minting errors. Using a magnifying glass or coin loupe can help you spot tiny imperfections or details that could set your coin apart. Once you think your coin may be rare, you can have it graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC. Having an authenticated grade can drastically increase your coin's value and make it easier to sell in the collector's market. Let's explore a bit about the historical importance of 1980 as a minting year. The late 1970s and early 1980s were a transformative period for the U.S. Mint. This was when the Mint began refining its equipment and improving die-making technology to produce more consistent strikes. However, during the early adoption of these new techniques, small imperfections and errors still occurred, which is why coins from around 1980 often feature a number of collectible varieties. The Philadelphia Mint, in particular, produced hundreds of millions of 1,980 quarters, over 635 million to be precise. While this may sound like a massive number, finding a coin from that mintage in pristine, untouched condition is surprisingly difficult today. Most of these coins went directly into circulation and suffered from scratches, pocket wear, and oxidation over the decades. That's what makes the few remaining mint-state examples so rare and valuable. Collectors love the 1980p Washington quarter because it bridges the gap between the classic pre-1965 silver era and the modern clad era. It tells a story of changing economic times in America, technological progress at the mint, and the enduring image of George Washington on the nation's coinage. There's also a sentimental aspect. Many collectors who grew up during the 1980s remember these coins vividly, using them for arcade games, vending machines, and payphones. Holding one today brings a sense of nostalgia and history that transcends its face value. Let's not forget about the grading scale and how much it can impact value. A circulated 1980p quarter might be worth around 25 cents to $1. An uncirculated example might be worth a few dollars. But once you reach grades like MS-66 or higher, the price starts to climb steeply. MS-67 coins can bring several $100s, and an MS-68 or error coin can reach tens of thousands. This is where we see that incredible record value of over $64,000 being realized at auction. When looking at auction history, collectors have seen some jaw-dropping sales. Coins that were initially found in pocket change or old coin rolls have been graded and later sold for thousands of dollars more than their face value. Stories like these inspire more and more people to start checking their loose change, coin jars, and inherited collections. Another key point to understand is eye appeal. Even among coins of the same grade, those with exceptional luster, perfect strike quality, and a clean surface are often valued higher. Collectors will pay premiums for coins that stand out visually and have an attractive appearance under light. Let's take a closer look at the physical design details. The obverse side with George Washington's profile is one of the most iconic designs in American coinage. The sharpness of the hair, the clarity of the lettering, and the overall strike quality all contribute to the coin's desirability. The 1981 D Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin is one of those fascinating pieces of U.S. coinage history that has managed to capture the attention of collectors and coin enthusiasts all around the world. While at first glance, it may seem like an ordinary quarter that you might find in your pocket change, the truth is that some examples of this coin have turned out to be worth an incredible amount of money. Today, we're going to explore the detailed history, design, production background, era varieties, grading details, and most importantly, the reasons why the 1981 D Washington quarter can be worth up to an astonishing $54,658 in today's collector market. So, if you have a few old quarters lying around, you might want to pay close attention because you never know, You could be holding a hidden treasure. Let's begin by diving into the origins of the 1981 Washington Quarter. This coin is part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, which was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The obverse of the coin, which features the iconic portrait of George Washington, was designed by sculptor John Flanagan. His design was based on a bust of Washington created by Jean-Antoine Houdon in the late 18th century. Flanagan's version of Washington's profile became one of the most recognizable images in American coinage, appearing on quarters for decades before being replaced by the state quarters program in 1999. The reverse side of the 1981 Washington Quarter displays an American bald eagle perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing both strength and peace. This classic reverse design remained in use from 1932 all the way through 1998, making it one of the most enduring designs in U.S. coin history. Now let's talk about the minting details. The 1981 Washington Quarter was produced at the Denver Mint, which is represented by the small D mint mark located on the obverse side of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. In 1981, the Denver Mint produced approximately 575 million Washington quarters. That's a huge number, which might make you wonder why any single coin from that mintage could be valuable. But as any experienced coin collector knows, rarity is not always just about how many coins were made, it's about how many high-quality or error-free examples survived in pristine condition. Most of the 1981 quarters went into everyday circulation, being used for purchases, vending machines, and transactions. Over the years, they became scratched, worn, and dinged from daily use. However, a few rare examples were either struck under special conditions or accidentally created with minting errors that made them unique. These are the coins that collectors search for and that can bring in thousands of dollars at auction. Let's take a closer look at the specific factors that make a 1981 Washington Quarter worth a fortune. The first factor is condition or grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin. A 1981 Washington Quarter found in circulation may grade anywhere from very good to extremely fine, and those usually only fetch a small premium above face value. But coins that are in mint state condition, meaning they were never used and still retain their original luster, are the ones that command serious money. For example, a 1981 Washington Quarter graded MS-65 by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, might sell for around $40 to $100. If the same coin grades MS-66, the value jumps higher, sometimes reaching into the hundreds. And once you enter MS-67 or higher territory, the price can skyrocket. An example graded MS-67 or MS-68 with full original mint luster, sharp details, and no visible contact marks can be worth several $1,000s. But the truly extraordinary 1981 quarters are those with rare minting errors or those preserved in exceptional condition from the moment they were struck. Some examples of known errors include off-center strikes, double die obverse or reverse varieties, coins struck on wrong planchets, and those with missing mint marks or partial collars. These unique errors make each coin one of a kind, and collectors are often willing to pay massive premiums for them. One of the most famous 1981 Washington Quarter error types is the double die error, where the lettering or details on the coin appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the die production process. A double die obverse 1981 quarter can bring in hundreds or even thousands depending on how visible the doubling is and the coin's overall condition. Another rare and fascinating variety is the transitional planchet error. Occasionally, coins were struck on leftover metal blanks intended for other denominations or earlier years. If a 1981 quarter were struck on a planchet meant for a different coin, such as a nickel or a foreign coin blank, its value would skyrocket immediately because of the extreme rarity. Now let's move to the historical and economic background of the 1981 quarter. The early 1980s were a time of change for the U.S. Mint. The price of silver had already led to the removal of silver from quarters years earlier, in 1965, so by 1981, all Washington quarters were made from a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means that each coin was made of a pure copper core sandwiched between two layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The total weight of the coin is 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a reeded edge. Although these coins contain no silver, their numismatic value, meaning their value to collectors, comes from rarity, errors, and pristine condition, not their metal content. Because 1981 was a relatively stable year for the mint, most coins came out with normal strikes. But it's the rare few that stand out for collectors and investors today. The market for high-grade and error Washington quarters has exploded in recent years. Collectors from all over the world, including new investors who see rare coins as alternative assets, are paying more than ever for top-quality coins. Auction houses have reported record prices for mint-state examples. One particularly fine 1981 D Washington quarter graded MS-68 sold for a shocking $54,658. This sale stunned many collectors and highlighted just how valuable coins from this era can become when perfectly preserved. So how can you tell if your 1981 D Washington quarter is valuable? Start by carefully examining the coin under a bright light. Look for the mint mark, D, on the front. Make sure the details of George Washington's hair, the lettering, and the eagle on the reverse are sharp and crisp. If your coin has a mirror-like surface, shows no signs of wear, and still looks as if it just came out of the mint, it may be worth having it professionally graded by a reputable company such as PCGS or NGC. If you discover any doubling on the lettering or any unusual features such as off-center striking, those could be signs of minting errors that make the coin even more valuable. Keep in mind that even a minor error can significantly increase value if the coin is in excellent shape. Storage and handling are also crucial. If you believe your 1981 D quarter could be valuable, never clean it or polish it, as this can drastically reduce its value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges and store it in a protective coin holder or capsule. Professional collectors always recommend keeping coins in a controlled environment with low humidity to preserve their surfaces. Let's also take a brief look at the broader impact of the Washington Quarter series on American numismatic history. The Washington Quarter has been in continuous production for over 90 years, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in the history of the United States. It has survived multiple redesigns, including the 50-state quarters program, the America the Beautiful series, and the modern Washington Crossing the Delaware design. Yet, coins from the early 1980s, like the 1981 D, hold a special nostalgic place because they represent the last years before the state quarter era began. Collectors often look at these coins as part of the bridge between the classic design era and modern coinage. That adds a layer of historical and sentimental value that further drives demand. The 1981 D Washington Quarter has become a quiet sleeper in the coin market. Many people have these coins sitting in jars, drawers, or collections, completely unaware that their coin might be one of the few rare examples worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. As collectors and investors compete for the highest graded examples, the market value for top-tier coins continues to rise. It's also worth noting that coin collecting is one of the oldest and most rewarding hobbies in America.